Hello everybody, welcome to the I Am IT Geek YouTube channel. My name is Shabazz Dar and I am the IT Geek. This is episode 3 in the Azure Identity and Access Management series, and it's also part 2 of the Azure AD topic. We had part 1 last week. I just want to have a quick overview of episode 2, but part 1 of the Azure AD series. So first of all, we had a quick overview of Azure AD and how it is the Microsoft Cloud service for identity management that controls access to your Azure services like your infrastructure as a service, your platform as a service, and your SaaS services. I then took a look at the type of end users who would make use of Azure AD and how they would do that, including IT admins, your app developers, and your standard users that use like Microsoft 365 and Dynamics 365 and those sort of SaaS products. I then had a deeper look into the type of licenses and subscriptions available with Azure AD and the differences between those. So we had the Azure Basic license, we had Azure AD Premium 1 or P1, and we had Azure AD Premium 2 or P2. Finally, I touched on some of the features with Azure AD, including authentication features, conditional access, hybrid identity, which we're going to get into a bit deeper further on in the series, identity protection, and some of the reporting and monitoring that's available as well. So that's the episode 2 recap done. Let's get stuck into episode 3. So this is Azure AD part 2. And in today's episode, I'd like to go a bit more hands-on and dive into the Azure admin portal, where we're going to take a closer look at some of the configuration options, including custom domains, users and groups, external identities, some role-based access control, and also enterprise applications. The final part, I will take a look into some of the monitoring and reporting features available within Azure AD. I've highlighted some of those when I was talking about the licensing features in episode 1. So it's good to go into the monitoring and reporting features to show you what the full capabilities are. So as I mentioned, first of all, we're going to have a jump into the Azure Admin Center. So here we are in Azure Active Directory Admin Center. I'm in my demo Contoso tenant, as you can see, and here's just the front dashboard, which you can obviously customize to whatever you want. As you can see on mine, I'm showing what the license I have there. I've got Azure AD Premium 2, my kind of banner logo there, showing the users and groups dashboard there, some user sign-in information, and then some information around my Azure AD Connect, which is not synced or not enabled. And then I've got some information around activity logs. And again, like I mentioned, you can be specific around customizations you want here and fill whatever items you want in here for your own dashboard. And you can even create a new dashboard here or upload one, for example. So if I first click on Azure Active Directory, the first bit I wanted to look at was custom domains. And here again, this is like an overview of the actual Azure Active Directory tenancy and directory. And you've got a lot of information there around the primary domain. Again, mine's the on Microsoft domain. You've got tenant ID information there, which I shouldn't be showing you, but it's only a demo tenant. This isn't a production one. So it's going to be trashed straight after this video. And if we go scroll a bit further down the dashboard, some more Azure AD Connect information about last sync. Obviously, as I mentioned, this hasn't been configured, so that's not there. And I got some admin tasks here I can do from the overview and dashboard, and create some users groups. I'll go into them shortly. Enterprise applications, which I'm going to touch on, and then some other featured services, which it gives me kind of a shortcut to here. So if we start off by going to the menu pane here, and what I wanted to first look at was custom domain names. So going into how we can add a custom domain. So as you see there's my default domain. It's my .onmicrosoft.com one. But like most businesses, most clients and customers, they want to have their own domain which they've purchased in their Azure AD tenancy. So if you want to do that, you can go to add a custom domain. And before I type anything in, just want to quickly go on this information here. So it just says there, to add a domain, you must already own a domain name and have the necessary signing credentials to update DNS records. So just by adding the domain here doesn't complete the custom domain name. You have to have access to the public DNS records or tenancy, be it 123reg or GoDaddy or whatever, wherever it's hosted, wherever the domain's hosted, you need to have the admin access there so you can add in the necessary DNS records. So if I just type in a random domain, so I don't actually own this domain, but if you notice, if I just delete, so you've got to put some sort of domain prefix or extension in. So it can be anything. I obviously went with .com. It could be .net, that's recognized. Oh, put 2 dots in. .org, it recognizes. So we're going to stick with .com just for this example. I don't actually own this domain. It's just, I just want to show it for example. So if I click on add domain, so this is the initial page. So first of all, we've got to prove domain ownership. And to do that, like I mentioned, you need access to the DNS admin center, be it 123reg or GoDaddy, just 2 examples off the top of my head. And you then have to add either a text record, so that gives you the information around the text record, or you can add an MX record. Now, I generally go for the text record just because an MX record is for obviously your mail flow, your public mail flow. So I tend to go with just a record type of text record because I just find it safer and more reliable. So once you've added this record, you then verify. And once you've verified, depending on how long it takes to propagate the internet, this then takes you on to the DNS records that you can configure additionally for if you wanted to like, for example, add MX records or for any sort of other sort of service that needed DNS records, you could add them within the custom domain bit. So before I move on from custom domains, I just wanted to show you some of the options you have available for a domain that you have successfully added and configured. So obviously I've only got the onmicrosoft.com one, which is the default domain that the tenant came with. So I'll just click on it. You can, if you've got multiple domains, you can then obviously choose to make it primary. Mine's obviously the only domain, so it's already primary. Or you can delete it. Again, because this is my only domain, I can't delete it. And obviously it's my primary one as well. You can't delete your primary domain. So it gives you information around the status, if it's federated or not. Obviously it's my primary domain. And here we can see it's been used by 61 resources that are referencing the domain. So if I click on that, that's like a link, and it tells us essentially what objects are referencing this domain. It gives their ID as well. So if you're migrating away from a tenant, or you want to migrate a domain away from one tenant to another, this gives you good source of information around, you know, what objects do you need to change before you can remove that domain. So these are all seem like groups and user objects here. So I just wanted to give an idea of some of the options you have when you click on a domain and what you can view and the information you can get from there. So if we move back into the Azure Active Directory tenancy, next I want to look at the users and groups. So I'm just going to click on users here. So unlike Active Directory on premises where it's OU based and there's a hierarchy to the kind of structure of your Active Directory tenant on premises, it's all one single pane of glass here. So there's no OUs. You know, you don't separate people by what department or what country they're in. All your users, regardless of what country they're in, what domain they have added, what department they're in, they're all in one pane of glass, which is, I think it makes it easier for administration because you can just see and search everyone under here. I know on Active Directory on premises you can also do the find function. You can find people easily, but this is just all on one pane of glass So you don't have to manage or use or their permissions, deleting them by mistake or setting them to not delete, those sort of things. You don't have to worry about those in Azure AD because everyone's visible in the same pane of glass. And what we can see, just some basic information around each user on the actual all users bit. Obviously their name, their user principal, what type of member they are, are they a member or a group? Obviously they're a member here. And there's their directory sync. See if I can move that a bit. Directory synced. Are any of these synced with AD on premises? And because all these are cloud users, the answer is no. When I go into Azure AD Connect in a couple of episodes time, when we look at the hybrid Azure Identity Management, we'll be able to see some directory synced users, and obviously in one of the videos I'm going to do a configuration and a sync, so I can show you that. So I'll go into the users shortly to show you what options you have to configure. Just first of all, at the top here, this is you can click to add a new user, or you can add a guest user individually, or you can also do bulk operations, which allows you to bulk create, bulk invite, bulk delete, or also download users, and you can download all your users that are in here in your tenancy into a CSV file. So these are some of the management options you've got on the front pane here. I won't go into adding any users at the moment because I just want to go into some of the settings here. So here we take a look at the deleted users. I've not got any deleted users, but if you have deleted users in the last couple of months, they'll all show here. I think it's actually 30 days, sorry. So as you can see there, it says users are permanently deleted automatically 30 days after their deletion. So once you delete someone, it'll be almost like a soft delete. So they will show in this pane here for up to 30 days. And then once that's done, they'll be gone, and you'd have to recreate them. So for any deleted users that are showing up here, you do have the option to restore them. Here, as you can see, we can do password resets as well. So this is where I can configure self-service password reset options. At the moment, as you can see, I've got the SSPR security group users, and anyone in that can do their self-service password reset themselves. If we go into the authentication methods here, so I think I've gone through some of these already in a previous video when we looked at self-service password reset. So I won't go through all these options again, but that's just to give you an idea of what you can do for Azure AD. If we go back to the all users preview here, just want to click on user settings, and these are again some kind of default settings we can set for all users. So allowing users to register enterprise applications, do we want to allow that or not? For the tenant, access to admin portal, again, do we want to restrict users to Azure AD admin portal? We can LinkedIn account connections, are we going to allow users to connect their work or school account with LinkedIn? You can do yes, no, or you can actually select a specific group if you want just specific users to be able to do that option. External users, this link will take us to the external users configuration, which I'm going to look at towards the end of this video, so I won't click on that quite yet. And just again, if we just go to the left hand side here, we've got some monitoring. Again, I will be looking at that shortly, so I won't delve into that at the moment. So I'm just going to move back a step again, go back into the all users option. What I'd like to do is just go into one of the users. We'll use Adele Vance, who again is just a mock account that's created with this tenant. I just want to go through some of the options and features we've got and what we can really configure for this user. So on the initial profile page, we have some details about the user herself, her email address there, the number of sign-ins, obviously never signed in because it's not real. Some information around her identity, her object ID, name, again, user type. So again, all these are similar features to what you can configure on Active Directory on premises. So you can put in job information, all the contact info, authentication methods. This is what we did in the MFA series right at the beginning. And then some consent information there as well. And we got the option to the top here to edit, to reset the password, to revoke access to delete her account, or we can, if we've made some changes to any of the job information or contact information, we can do a refresh here as well. Just to click on edit, just to give you an idea of, again, we can remove the image and we can select a new image and upload that, so their identity image will change on applications like Teams, Exchange Online. So any applications that use Active Directory Azure AD will change the image as well. And again, this allows us, once we click on edit, to change all this information here. So we'll go away from there. I just want to click on Adele again, and we'll just go through some of the other options here on the left. Assigned roles, I will be showing, going into the role-based access control shortly. So this is if we were to give Adele any of those roles, assign her any of those roles, they will show here. So I'll do that towards the end of the video, and we can go through that. This just shows some of the administrative units that we can assign to the user. So click on add there. I've not actually got any set up, so can't select any, but that's just showing you you can allow there. Click on groups. Again, these are all the groups that she's added to, and again, we can add membership. We can add her to a group if we want there. So all these are all the groups that exist. We could add it to any of these if we wanted to. Applications, these are all the sort of enterprise applications. Again, I will be touching on those shortly towards the end of the video. But again, this is what she has access to, and is what her account is synced with. So see Box, LinkedIn, Salesforce and Twitter there. This is around her licensing. So what subscriptions does this user, Adele, have assigned? So as we can see, she's got Enterprise Mobility and Security E5. She's got the E5 compliance license, and she's also got Office 365 E5. So she's got direct licenses there. We can also then go and assign her additional licenses if we want, or we can remove the licensing if we want as well. So as you can see, that all these are ticks. We could tick these, or we could remove those other ones, and we could review license options here that she's currently got. So we'll move back one screen to get to Adele again. These are the devices that Adele has synced with Active Directory Azure AD. We've not got any on-premises sync here, and because Adele's not logged in, it's just a generic account. There aren't any devices to sync to Azure AD, but if there were, they would show here, and then you could then, as you can see here, enable, disable the device. You could delete it. You can manage it further, or if it was here, you could click on it and go into more details of that device. Azure role assignments. Again, these are the kind of the role-based access controls that you can assign and give permissions to. Again, we've not selected any for Adele, so they're not going to show there. These are the different authentication methods as far as mobile phones go. So in the MFA piece that we looked at in Series 1, this is where we assign the user's mobile number. So if Adele was real and she had a mobile number or an alternate phone or an email address, we put it in here. We could also reset her password from here, and we can require her MFA to be re-registered if her registration's gone askew, or for whatever reason the user requested to get re-registered. We could do it from here. And some activity and monitoring here. Again, I'm going to touch on that shortly in this video, so I won't go into that information there. But that's essentially the sort of options we have around users and being able to manage their accounts. So I'm going to just jump back into Azure Active Directory Tenant. I just want to touch on the groups area. And these are all the groups that we've got currently set up that I said are default in this tenant. And we've got lots of options here around how we can manage groups. At the top here, just as you can see, we can create a new group. Just want to quickly show some of the options around here. We can either do a security group or a Microsoft 365 group. The name and the description self-explanatory. And we can assign Azure AD roles to this group if we wanted to, or we can give it a membership type as well. So we're going to assign users to this group, or we're going to create a dynamic user group or a dynamic device group, which gives us more customization options. So they're the kind of options you have around when you're creating a group. Quickly jump back into groups. The delete a group option is again similar to the user one. If you delete a group, it stays there for 30 days, and after which it'll be permanently deleted. Let's go into some of the settings. So these are the sort of tenant settings around groups. So self-service group management option there. Owners can manage group membership requests in their access panel. Do we want to allow that or not? Restrict user ability to access groups. Do we want to disable that or not? Security groups here. Can users create security groups in Azure portals? Yes or no? And then again, same around the Microsoft 365 groups, where we're going to let users create them, yes or no. So again, depending on what your company policies are around these sort of restrictions, you can have some customization here. So click on expiration. So this is renewal notifications that are emailed to owners every 30 days in case you've got any sort of settings within your groups around this. So you can set for it's almost like a timer. So every 100, you've got options around over 180 or 365. You can also do custom, where you can do custom timings for the group lifetime. So if say you've got a specific project that's gonna only be a couple of months or 60 days, then you can set some permissions around the group lifetimes of how long the group's going to last for. You configure a notification to someone's email address, and then you enable expiration for which depending on which groups, all groups or selected groups. So that's sort of customization around group lifetime and group expiration dates. Click on naming policy. This gives you some customizations around what people can and cannot put in their group names. So you could block certain words. So you could upload a word list, and that'll ensure people cannot set the names of the groups to those words. And then again, if you've uploaded one and you need to update it after a certain amount of time, you can download it, amend it, and then re-upload it again. So it's with like most things with Microsoft 365 and Azure, it's always a CSV file format that you can download and upload. So again, we've got some information around activity here, logs and monitoring. And again, as I mentioned, I'm going to be going through that later on in this video, so I won't go into too much information there. So let's quickly go back into groups here and just give you a bit of an insight into what we can actually do configuration wise and management wise with an already existing group. So here you can see this is a Microsoft 365 group, so I'll just quickly click on Ask HR. And again, here in the overview, we've got information around the membership type, source, the object ID, when it was created, an email address. Gives you some information around the number of users that are part of this group. Is this group part of a different group? Is it nested or not? Are there any devices? The number of owners. If we go further down here on the manage pane, we can go into the properties. We could change the group name if we wanted to. We could change the membership type. What we can't change is the group type. So if it's created as a 365 group, it has to stay as that. Same with the object ID. That's can't change that. Gives us the options to add members or even remove members. So if we click on highlight them, we could remove them, or click add members and search for members to add. This gives us similar options but with owners. So we can see here Megan Bowen is the owner of this group. We can remove her as an owner if she leaves, or we can add other people as members if you want to split the responsibility. Similar to the users here, administrative units, we don't have any, so in this tenant, so we can't add any there. This is for is this group part of any other groups? Is it nested in any other groups? And we'd see them here. Again, similar to the users, is this group got any permissions to any applications, or has it got any Azure roles assigned to it? So again, similar options to what we have with the users. And again, down here we see some monitoring and activity options here. And again, I'm going to go into access reviews shortly, so we'll leave that for now. So next, I just want to hop straight back into the Azure Active Directory tenant. And I'd like to have a look at external identities and just discuss this for a short time. So here is where you can configure your external identities, including your business to consumer identities. So it allows you to collaborate with not just other businesses, other tenants, but obviously other identities like Google, Facebook. So if I go into show here on all identity providers, there straight away you can see that Facebook and Google are. You can add your social identity providers here. So I could add my Facebook account, or if I had my Google account, I could add. Or if you've got more custom identity providers you want to add via SAML, you can do that there as well. We've obviously not got any added yet, so I can't really show you the options within that, but this is where you would manage all your kind of external identity collaborations with other tenants and other external identities. So here on external identity collaboration settings, we can see we can manage guest user access. So for they have what sort of permissions you want to give your guest users. As you can see there, the most inclusive that give guest users the same access as members, which is obviously giving them, if you trust them and they're part of another business unit but just in a different tenant, then that might be a use case where you give them that option. Or you can give limited access or be really restrictive here and give very, very little access to your guests. And then some invite settings here, allowing admins and users in the guest inviter role can invite. So they need to have a specific role, which I can show you when we look at the role-based access control. Again, allowing members, so anyone who's a member can invite guests. And then here, are we going to let guests invite guests? And again, depending on what restrictions you're going to put in place, what your company policy is around guests, then you'd be able to say yes or no there. This allows us to enable one-time passcode for guests. So if someone's logging in, they can request a passcode, and it's just an extra layer of security. So as you can see here, we've got it enabled, so it automatically enables a one-time passcode for guests starting March 2021. We've got other options here about enabling email one-time passcode for guests, which would effectively be now. Or this is just totally disabling it, so we don't want the one-time passcode. But it's a good option in my opinion. It's an extra layer of security for your guests. And then here's to enable guest self-service sign-up via user flows, which you can configure as well. Again, that option's here, which I'll click on shortly. And then again, just some collaboration restrictions here around allowing invitations to be sent to any domain. Again, as you can see, we've got more inclusive, kind of medium, and then more restrictive settings here. So just click on some of the self-service sign-up area, and again, we've got custom attributes that we can configure here. I've obviously not got any of the external identities piece configured, so again, just want to give you an overview of what options you do have. So this allows us to put API connectors with our external identities. And here there's a user flow piece. So if I go back to external collaboration, there was enabling guests to self-service sign up via user flows. This is where you would create the flow. So as you can see here, this is not enabled, so we'd have to enable it first. We saw the LinkedIn subscriptions a bit earlier. So this is, do we want to allow it? And we can link a subscription here. So you can see it's not linked properly. So if we were to click on it, we could click on link, and it would go through the process of getting it linked correctly with Azure AD. And there's some terms of use and access reviews there for your external identities. So again, external identities allows us to collaborate with kind of external identities like Facebook and Google, or we can have collaborate with using B2B or B2C, so business to business or business to consumer identity collaboration. So that's all managed through your external identities area. So just going to quickly touch on role-based access control here. So within Azure AD, we've got roles and administrators. So if I click on here, you can see we've got however many different really customized roles we can give users permissions to, or we can, again here, we can create our own custom roles. I'll quickly click on that, just give it a name. test, put a description if you want in there. And then baseline permissions, are we going to start from scratch or do we want to clone an existing role? We'll start from scratch in this case. Click on next, and these are all the sort of permissions here we can assign it. So if I just want to go to, let's look at some of the, is it loads? No, I was going to try and click on compute. Let's click on application. And here we can see all the application policies that are available and then the description of them here. So we could select as many as we wanted, click on next and then create that. I'm not going to create one in this instance. I want to just look in some of the already created ones. So for example, an authentication administrator. So again, no one's assigned this yet. We could assign people to this group if we wanted, or we could remove existing ones. Again, or we could download the list of people who are already added into a CSV if we wanted to, report on it to our supervisor or so forth. Click on description. This gives us some explanation into, the description of what can someone in this group do. So they have access to view, set, and reset authentication methods. Information for non-admin users, so that's quite key there. So anyone who's got an administration role, this user could not be able to change it for them. So it's just non-admin users only. And here we can see some of the role permissions it's got. So again, we can see read and configure Azure Health Service, read and configure Office 365 Health Service. So these are the tasks and these are sort of roles this or all can feature that can complete tasks on. Go further down, we've got some more read standard properties of applications. As you can see, very, very granular permission set here that you can assign. So if we move back again, let's have a look at another one maybe quickly. Conditional access administrator, that's going to be a good one. Again, no one's assigned this yet. Just go into the description. Again here, because it's a role, a conditional access administrator, they can create policies in Azure Active Directory, they can delete policies. Got some read permissions around conditional access and some update ones as well. So again, all tasks and kind of role configuration based around conditional access policies. So again, you can assign all these sort of roles to different users within your team. And it helps spread the sort of responsibilities, so not all your responsibilities is assigned to one person. And also this is a good way of protecting your tenant, so you're not giving people global admin access, because obviously global admin, it's easy to just give that to people so they can have access to everything. But if you have specific teams, like you have an exchange team, you could give them just exchange administrator. If you have a Dynamics 365 team, they can have the Dynamics 365 administrator. If you have maybe a first line team who aren't as well trained in Azure AD, you could just give them directory readers, so just read writes. And you've got different levels. You've got admin, you've got operator, so you've got all these different type of level of roles you can give to people. So it makes it really granular and gives you really good customization options. That's a quick overview of the roles and administrators, or the role-based access control that we can do. Just want to highlight enterprise applications now before we move on to the monitoring. And again, I think I showed this in one of the user accounts where they had access to specific applications. So again, these are all the sort of applications that are already added, and you can click on those and customize those even more. Or you can add, if you've got a new application you want to add, you can go to new. And again, you could search it here. So if we just search, SAP is already there, I think. So this gives us all the SAP applications, different types of SAP applications that are available to us. SAP HANA, SAP Ariba. Let's just type in Google. All the different Google applications that we can add into that are in the Azure AD gallery. So again, we could add that to our Azure Active Directory tenant as well. So let's click back onto Enterprise Applications. Just want to go through some of the functions and features down here on the left hand side. So this is Application Proxy, which is a good feature that I think I mentioned in when we were talking about the subscriptions in an earlier video. You can enable Application Proxy for a specific application that you want to have that access with, and you can add that connector. So I'll just click on configure. We're not going to configure it out, but you essentially download this application proxy connector and you install it on an on-premises server. If you want, if people who are watching this, if you want to look through that process and me to go into more detail on how to do that, I'd be happy to create another video. Just drop me a message in the comments or hit me up on Twitter. I'd be happy to kind of show the process in like a real life scenario around that. I've got some settings here, again similar user settings around the enterprise applications. These will be default for all applications. So just some user settings there, admin settings, and some Office 365 settings here. These are the sort of collections, which again we've not got any at the moment, but just quickly go through this. So collections enable you to customize your end users' portals, so when they log into the application kind of side of it. They're essentially groupings of applications assigned to users and groups. It enables them to find the applications then quicker and easier. So it's a kind of customizable dashboard for users, so you can set those up here. So we've got some conditional access here for your applications. So this gives us straight into the conditional access policies, which we've already had a look at when we did the MFA piece. And there you can do a new policy around a specific application. Here you can see that we've already got some set up. Not all of them are turned on, apart from the MFA one that I did in an earlier video, but we've got an Exchange Online compliant device one. We've got an Office 365 app control one. So here's where we could create more conditional access policies around our applications. And then this is the consent and permissions. Again, more user consent settings for our applications. So granting consent to an application, group owner consent here as well. So again, a lot of customization around our enterprise applications and the permission sets here. Again, more activity and monitoring, which I'm going to go into a little bit in this video. So that was a bit of a deeper dive into the admin center in Azure AD and some of the features and some of the configuration options you have. This video is a bit longer than some of my others because there was just so much information I wanted to kind of show. And to be honest, I've only really touched the surface. There's so much more to Azure AD. If there's any of those features that I show that you want me to deep a bit dive into, please do just hit me up on the comments. I'll be happy to create another video specifically about that. As I mentioned, if you want to go more into enterprise applications or even the users and going through a creation of a user, please do let me know. I'll be more than happy to create one. So what we're going to do now is move on to monitoring and reporting. So before we finish this week's episode, I just wanted to touch on monitoring and reporting because it's a really good tool and feature of Azure AD, and there are a lot of options around it. There is a slight caveat that you do need to have an Azure subscription. So obviously we're in Azure Active Directory, which is the service, but you need an Azure subscription as well to use some of the features, but I'll go into that shortly. So here we are back in the Azure Active Directory tenant portal. And as I went through quite a few of the settings, you'll notice each setting has its own sort of monitoring and reporting services you can select. Or we've got the general tenant monitoring settings here. So let's quickly just touch on some of the separate ones. So for the users here, we could check the sign-ins and who signed in where. And they'll all be, as you can see, the MOD administrator, which is me. So this shows, when have I logged in and what application have I logged into as well, and the sort of time and date. So it's very good if you're trying to look at sign-ins and activity and trying to work out who's logged in when. This gives you that sort of indication. You can go into more specifics and filters here, and if we just click on audit logs again. So that was sort of a sign-in. Audit logs is more for actions. So here this tells us, look, the service, the core directory, the user management area was updated. So a user was updated and it was successful, and then it shows who updated it and who it was initiated by. So again, very granular sort of view on who's making what changes. So it gives you an option to have a look at your administrators and who's done what. You know, if you've had some sort of security alert or security risk, you can have a further look into it here. And again, you've got more filters. You can get even more customized if you want specific data. So the last month there, we could change back to the last day. And here we've got sort of bulk operations around your monitoring alerts in here. We've not got any information here, so we can't really use this. So that was sort of the users and the monitoring alert you can do around users. We had groups as well. I won't go into every single one because I want to have a quick look at the sort of more tenant features around monitoring and alerting. But again, under activity, we can have a look at privileged access groups here. Access reviews is what I want to look at, because this is quite a good one where you can essentially, if someone wants to request access permissions to a certain application or a certain area of Azure or one of your services, they can request access, and you can review that, or you can have a group of people review that. So this is quite a clever feature that you can set here. You can have, give it a name, description, and give it sort of configure a start date of how long the access review is going to last for, and the frequency of it here. Is it going to be a one-time review, or is it going to be weekly, monthly? And some configuration. So if I just go weekly there. The duration of it, how long is it going to last for? Do you want it to end, or is it going to reoccur, or never end at all? You can configure, so that kind of removes the option to put an end date in. If you do never end date, obviously you can put one in, and also the occurrences here. You've noticed the number of times we can edit that now, but we can't edit the end date, so we should keep on going on and on as well. And this is a scope, so are we going to users to review? So it'll be members of groups, and the scope, is it going to be guest users only? Is it going to be everyone? And here we can just set who the reviews are going to be. So this is where you select the group who's going to be under review, and this is who can review it. So group owners or selected users or members, which would be themselves. And you can link it to a business flow here, but this is like the default one. We've not got any specific ones. And these are just some settings around completion that you can configure. Auto apply results to resource. What happens if your reviewers don't, if the reviewers don't respond, like they might be on annual leave or something? Do you remove access? Do you just approve it automatically? Or do you take recommendations, send like a notification to the person who's supposed to be reviewing it? And maybe they've forgotten this take recommendations, emails them a reminder. And just some advanced settings here. Again, you can disable or enable any of these features here on the left hand side, so reminders, mail notifications, etc. So those around the group sort of activities and reviews and kind of your activity you can do, the monitoring alerting, again, activity logs, audit logs, same as we had with the users. So I'm just going to move back a step. Just want to look at the options here on monitoring. So sign-ins we've already looked at, audit logs we've already looked at. The ones where I kind of want to go a bit deeper into, but I think I put a caveat earlier that you need an Azure subscription, which I don't have on this tenant. But with the logs and the diagnostic settings, so click on logs. This is the log analytics. So because you need Azure Monitor and log analytics, that requires an Azure subscription to be configured. Because I don't have one, this is essentially telling me that your integration is not enabled. So this Azure AD Tenant is not currently enabled to send logs to log analytics. So if I was to click on this link, it would explain to me and show me how I would go about configuring that. Same with the diagnostic settings. Again, it tells us here an Azure subscription is required to use this capability. So we can click on this and we can start creating one if we wanted to. Workbooks, again, similar, exactly the same error as a log analytics. That's what it requires, which is what we don't have because we don't have a subscription. Click on user and insights, usage and insights here. So we've got usage and insights around Azure AD application activity. If we had ADFS application activity, we could look at that, which we don't have, which is not set up yet. Or authentication methods activity as well. So this just tells us, how many registered users do we have on MFA, who's registered for self-service password reset, which users can reset their own passwords here. Again, some more insights into how many successes and failures of email, SMS, mobile calls. So this is for registrations of authentication methods. So again, some really insightful information into the security of our tenancy. If I click back up to Azure AD application activity, this tells us again the different applications that are registered and successful logins and fail logins, and we can delve deeper into that. Click on Azure portal. This gives us a better overview of this actual application. We've already kind of looked at enterprise application, so I won't go into this, but again, you can see the activity here, and it gives us more insight into this specific application if we wanted to look at that. So some really good insightful reporting and alerting there. So that was an overview of monitoring reporting within Azure AD and some of the features you can get with that. I wasn't able to go into too much detail, unfortunately, just because I don't have an Azure subscription on this tenancy. But if that is something that everyone wants to see, or if it's something you want me to go into more detail with, I'll be happy to create another video and some more content around that. So please do drop me a comment on my video, or hit me up on my Twitter to let me know if that's something you want to see. So that's episode 3 complete, which was part 2 of the Azure AD topic. This video was obviously quite a lot longer than my previous videos, just because there was quite a heavy demo element to it, as far as I wanted to jump into the admin center and give an overview of some of the features. We looked at custom domains, we looked at users and groups, we also looked at role-based access control, external identities, and we also looked at enterprise applications. In the final part of the video, we took a look into very high level monitoring and reporting features, and just kind of what they entailed. As I mentioned, I wasn't able to go into a lot of detail just because I need an Azure subscription for the log analytics, but that could be another video if obviously people want to see it. So thank you very much for watching. If you did like the video, please give it a like. If you haven't already subscribed, if you subscribe as well, please. Any sort of messages or any comments you want to make around my videos, please do let me know. I'm always appreciative of feedback. But yeah, so until next time, thank you very much and goodbye.